Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ops Club One Question With series. Today, we are talking on the topic of the one thing that hospitality operators wish founders and CEOs in tech for hospitality truly understand. And we're joined today by Steve Cownie, one of the founders of Chance Encounters. Chance Encounters is the largest board game cafe business in the UK. Steve helped set the business up nearly 10 years ago. And actually studied computer science at uni. So he is definitely Chance Encounters de facto CTO, IT support, and all things tech at Chance Encounters. So Steve, welcome to the
Thank you
show
very
today.
much. Lovely intro.
And look, to dive right in, Steve, I'm sure you've got a lot to say on the topic, but what is the one thing that you wish founders and CEOs in hospitality tech really did understand?
So my question or I basically wish hospitality founders, tech founders understood that interoperability is a primary feature when building their systems, i.e. building a walled garden or not thinking about how your system sits in a bigger tech stack makes your company less valuable.
Interesting. And you sit firmly on the view that like is anyone going to build this super system that does everything these days, or do you think that is truly gone?
I think there are a lot of companies still trying to build systems that will do everything. That it's a POS with a CRM with a reservation system attached to it, and I just don't think that any one company can create a system that's going to work for such a broad industry as hospitality. And so I think it's much more likely, and what we're kind of already seeing is like hospitality tech is super interesting at the moment, and lots of people doing one thing well. And I think a combination of companies doing one thing well that talk to each other is going to win. In my
Yeah, so
view.
you're still on which I think I would agree is that the chance of anybody coming in and building, all 10 things that I might need really to run
Mm-hmm.
my business well. And inevitably there's something else, right? That no one's ever going to build the one system that does everything. And I think it almost ends up more annoying if you use one system for nearly everything and then
Yeah.
have this one or two other satellite things that don't plug in. So okay, yeah, I like it. And where's that coming from? Like what are the examples from your
Mm-hmm.
background that have caused that frustration?
So a fairly painful story from Chance Encounters this year. EPOS company broke up with our payment provider so at the start of the year. One of my first jobs this year was to find a new POS company, and one of the requirements of that new POS company was to work with the 7 or 8 other parts of our tech stack. And so I kind of set out. I went and spoke to 8 or 9 different companies, reviewed all their integrations, and didn't find a single one that could work with even a majority of them. So by
So is that why you've ended up in this scenario where you've changed as many systems as you have this year? Because I know you've had a
exactly,
large
yeah,
year of tech
yeah.
transformation.
Yeah, exactly. So, what started out as, I had hoped a fairly simple process of, an EPOS system is incredibly complicated and it's incredibly important. So, I was braced for that being a tough change. But then in order to not break other parts of the business, we ended up having to change several other systems. And that's kind of one of my reasons why I think interoperability is such a good strategy, is that actually we ended up getting rid of systems which were perfectly fine because they didn't work with a POS company that we did have to go with. So, other people, other people in the mix ended up being displaced by no fault of their own, by virtue of being also not sort of prioritizing
Yeah. By
integration.
someone else's sort of like whatever commercial falling out or
Yeah. Yeah.
some
Yeah.
element of change of focus. And do you find it easy to, because I think one of my big frustrations with integration or interoperability, I do like the word interoperability, like it's a good
Yeah.
word, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like it is actually just finding out this information.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really challenging. Some website might say that, these two systems are integrated partners. And
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
not
Yeah. I
not
think
always
that's
a salesperson can tell you, right?
for sure. Yeah. I think that's the other side to it, is being like honest and frank about what, if you do state you have an integration with XYZ, what is the nature of that integration? Like, what can you actually pull? Is it two-way? Is it free? So the other one, we're seeing a fair
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
of, is like, yeah, of course we integrate with them, but it'll cost you £5,000 a year,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you need your own developer in house to pass all these integration tests or whatever. So like, yeah, it's not just saying, It's not just lip service. It's like actually build your system to designed to be open and to talk to other systems.
Just to, because it's always nice to share like the positives as well. Like, have you got an example maybe where like that's worked really well? Or is it actually, is the landscape so hard that you don't have one example of where it's really
No,
good?
I was looking for examples of, our current suppliers who are really, really good at it. And I think the best example I'd probably have is Airship. Airship have lots of well-maintained integrations with most of the people that you would want them to, but they also have a free REST API, which, yeah, you have to do some tests. You have to kind of like show that you can use it responsibly, which I haven't yet done for Chance Encounters anyway. But I think that's fair, but it's free. It's well documented. They seem to be updating it a bunch. You can do a lot with it. And I think, it kind of makes sense for a CRM because, their whole business is pulling in things from everywhere. That's kind of that they have built it with integration in mind and sitting in the middle of the stack. And yeah, so I'd say that they're a positive example of someone who I think is benefiting from having good relationships with companies across the hospitality tech spectrum and actually thinking about the things they can't do and allowing customers to build it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And so like I don't know, like what's driving that? Like what's the reason, the misconception, the fallacy around why tech companies are not good at this? Like what do they believe, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's harder than I think. I'm sure it's harder than I assume to put the resource behind APIs and to have them maintained. And I know that there's potentially I might be. I'm a computer science guy. I'm not on the nerdier end of the spectrum, and so I might be considered like a bit of a power user and like no one else is asking for this, dude. Like, quiet down.
Yeah.
But I also think there's an element of like, I know there are commercial dealings that go on with who we do and don't talk to. And if it's not, even if a company says, I'm not going to build a CRM, they might do a certain deal with a different CRM and say, this is our little walled garden. We're a little clique of cool companies. And if you get us all, you get some benefit to that. And I think that if that is the case, and that's one of the drivers for a lack of integration, I think that's just short-sighted, to be honest with you, like taking the exclusivity deals.
Or do you think actually what tech companies could do is be more open about like what is our ecosystem? Do you know what I mean? Like we play really well with these people in this way, and we think that this is a good stack, for 4 or 5 systems, because it just feels so hard to get that information. Like you ask a salesperson, they often say yes. And then you find out when you're trying to implement it that actually, well, it's not 2-way, and you can't get the sales data in there. And
I think absolutely, like having like a well updated part of your website or your sales process, which is these are the bronze, silver, gold in terms of how well we work together with them. Yes, we can support you if you use this rota management system, but here's a caveat: we can't do X, Y, Z. If you go for this one, we've worked with them on a bunch of different companies, and this is how it can work.
And we've got like a super strong partnership, and actually, it feels odd that there's not very much, because it is a really big frustration. I don't think you're the only person that will talk about that. Like actually, it's sort of this probably growing problem now that there's more systems, more data requirements, and it's probably only going to get worse as like we want to connect more things like, I don't know, AI, reporting, analytics to the whole stack, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know whether, I don't know whether it's a standards thing. Like, it gets into quite like heavily technical stuff, but is there like some work needs to be done where everyone gets together and say, this is what, if you were to do a day's worth of data for a hospitality
this is what
company,
a day is, like this is what a shift is, this is what
and having some sort of like shared understanding of that might make it easier, because I'm sure everyone handles it differently, and that's probably part of the problem. But some standardization, although that's very easy to say, surely must be good.
Well, I think that probably is. I don't have the example to hand, but I think in other industries there are things like that have happened where people agree what is the standard way we handle this data, which then just makes interoperability a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, especially, got lots of hospitality groups with maybe even multiple brands where they're running multiple versions of the same sort of tech, 3 different point of sales across their business. And you're like, it'd be great if they all talk to each other. or at least
Yeah.
talk to one central place.
Yeah, exactly.
And looking at like trends, trends a bit further out, like I mentioned AI. What's on the horizon, maybe that you wish tech companies were paying more attention to?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of my reason why I think this is so important is, as you say, AI, and I think that particularly when I think there's still quite a lot of legacy companies in tech who have built something amazing 20 years ago, and their reputation is now on reliability and uptime and stuff, and I think that's going to work for a while, but when there are companies that stopped innovating and stopped thinking about how they sit in a bigger tech stack, they're going to get vibe coded into oblivion in the next 2 to 4
Yeah,
years, because someone's going to come along and say, I don't like how you haven't added this feature despite loads of user demand for the last 5 years, so I'm going to vibe code a clone of you. And it's not
yes.
quite there yet, but I think that
Or just people will come along building products that are now easier, quicker, and cheaper to make that
uh-huh,
can rival it. And I
yeah,
think you're actually already seeing it. I think now versus 3 or 4 years ago, even larger companies are moving to smaller, newer tech partners
mm-hmm,
because reliability, speed of like development has got fast.
yeah,
Actually, there's now probably also quite a big price difference.
yeah.
Some of these newer platforms are, quite markedly cheaper than places where maybe you're paying for, you know, every day of implementation.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I think that's definitely another point is hospitality tech is really interesting at the moment, and you can build incredible stuff, but it does kind of feel like death by a thousand small cuts of everything is £250 a month per site, and you're kind of hospitality is not in the best spot right now, and so I think there is definitely an opportunity for someone to be like, we're the young buck, we're going to charge you less and deliver less because you don't need all of that, and
Mhm.
we haven't got 20 years of bloat in our company that you're paying
And
for,
how do you feel about lots of the lot? I'm sure lots of the platforms that you work with, everyone's bringing their bit of AI into it, or they're tagging their website with AI. Like,
hmm
how do you feeling about that?
I haven't yet. None of the a couple of the suppliers we use have kind of implemented it. I've seen some good examples of it. Again, Airship have got a good AI implementation. I've seen Access are talking about it. Yeah, I think great. Definitely, if it's not just a buzzword that you're sticking on your sales pages, yeah, think about how it might genuinely work for your customers, because we are finding lots of uses for chance encounters. But yeah, I think that my broader point about that, I think where people are really going to get the value from AI is helping to stitch things together, and
Hmm.
and getting their data out and doing interesting things with it. And so if you're still saying yes, we have AI, but you cannot pull your own reports on a weekly basis or whatever, I don't know. I just don't. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's going to be a losing strategy.
interesting. Like, it's fun, isn't it? Like, we're, I don't know, maybe many years into integration being possible, and it's still, it
Uh-huh.
feels like a real basic issue. But I
Uh-huh.
think it is a really big one still. So, last question: what is one piece of technology you've seen recently, heard about, or have on your list to look at more that you're like excited about?
I'm excited about all of it. I'm just not allowed to buy any of it at the moment.
Or is it anything you're building yourself? I know you kind of fancy yourself as a bit of a vibe coder now.
No, none of my stuff is production ready yet, but I'm interested. I've actually forgotten the name of them, but there's an AI based stock taking company which I
Is it
had a little.
peckish?
It is Peckish, yes,
Yeah.
who I was interested in.
Video
I
stock
haven't.
taking.
Yeah, which nobody likes stock taking, and you can be quite bad at it. So if that is as good as promised, it sounds super interesting.
Yeah. I think that is quite interesting. I was actually talking to somebody else about, if not video, then like audio. So like I don't have to bother stopping and writing it down all the time.
Mm,
I can
yeah,
just dictate, and like a meeting recorder, it just listens in the background
yeah,
and
yeah,
captures everything. Because yeah, I think that is a one that's prime for disruption now.
yeah.
And just last question, only because you mentioned this the other day. Like, you built yourself a little tool for, what was it for? Is it run sheets or something for your sites?
Yes, yeah,
What's the
that's
little
right.
tool you built? Because I think people would be interested in like a little clever thing that people build themselves that actually helps businesses.
So we have an events calendar on our website and our WordPress website. We do, 10, 15 events a week at all the cafes. And there was nothing on the events calendar that would send a guest list of everyone attending that event to the manager of that specific site. So there was always this process where one of the 3 or 4 of us that had access to it would have to pull a guest list invariably at 5 o'clock, just like annoying time and quite time sensitive. So with the help of Gemini and Claude, I can't remember. Yeah, I basically built a plugin for our website, which would go through all the day's events, see where they're hosted, see if they were ticketed or not. Some of them are just there for visibility. If they were ticketed, they would pull a guest list, including the pre-orders, names, emails, yada yada yada. Sent it to the site manager at 3 o'clock with a little note at the end saying, if this doesn't look right, blame Steve.
Amazing.
And that's,
I know it may feel like quite a mundane example, but like,
yeah,
that is something that I imagine creates a number of WhatsApp messages, most days of the week when someone forgets to do it. You probably are trying to do it as you're finishing work for the day. Blooming heck, I've not done that yet.
yeah.
Actually, by doing something quite simple, you've made everyone's life a bit easier and probably the guest experience better because no one will ever forget to do it now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's a low estimate as it saves an hour a week, and plus the WhatsApp chasing time of our managers. So like,
Yeah.
if we're looking for other ways that might, we might do the same, because it doesn't take a few of them to, easily
Yeah.
pay for your subscription to AI in a month and then some.
Yeah. And I'm sure there'll be many, many more examples of like that in lots of businesses. And
Yeah.
it is amazing what you can do when you start asking ChatGPT or Gemini to like help you do it. Right, we're going to wrap up there. Steve, thank you so very much for your time and for your insights. I really appreciate your perspective, and I'll see you soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.